Afternoon all, how are we all doing? Afternoon Ian, Novelty, Fletch, Julio, JC, Gregors, Crumb, David, Day Trader Mumo, how are we doing? So, non-farm payroll, bit of a whipsaw, big move on that, no direction as usual. So, news basically, Canadian dollar unemployment rate is down, which is good. That means that it allows them to drop their interest rates faster. Unemployment rate down for the US means they can also drop their interest rates faster. Unemployment change up, which is the same as yesterday, which is what we would expect. So the news is bearish for the US dollar. Wrong one. So we've obviously had a bit of a spike up on the US dollar CAD there, and it's pulled back down again. US dollar Swiss, same thing, new spike, drop, new spike, drop. So this is bullish indices. So we'll see what happens at the open of the markets, but this is certainly bearish for US and bearish for CAD moving forward. So it could be the start of the Fed coming out and announcing, there we go, 55% chance of a March rate drop. 55% chance of a March start to the Fed rate hikes. That should be drop, not hikes. 65%, yeah. They've got that the wrong way around. Cut, not hike. They're not going to hike the rates. Well, I don't know. Maybe they will. We'll have to wait and see what the CPI figures are. But yeah, certainly we should be looking for that to come down now. Other news this morning, not really a lot. Bank of England cutting by 1.25% this year. It's 1.25, 1.5, something like that. We know we're cutting rates. So just all bearish news across the board, basically, so far this morning. Other news we've got coming out, 3 o'clock, we've got the PMIs for services coming out half an hour after market open. So we need to be a little bit careful about the open of the US, but we'll see what happens. Got stung on the DAX. Sorry, not the DAX. DAX I made a profit on this morning. Got out of that with about just literally $40, just break even pretty much. FTSE, got hedged on it. I had an out here for about $70 loss. So it would have put me pretty much break even for the day. So I decided in my wisdom, 20 minutes before the, or 5 minutes before the news, what I'll do is I'll stick a stop loss down there and see if I can get a trailer off the news. So what did it do? Came down, stopped me out, and then ran off. So that would have been about a $600 win. But no, they decided to take me first. So the plan this morning was to play it back down into the previous low, which is there, and then take the bounce, which obviously is exactly what's happened. I just had my stop in the wrong place. So unfortunately lost on that this morning. So about 450 down on the day, which is not the end of the world. US indices, obviously we've had a whipsaw here on the news. It's rallying like crazy at the moment, obviously, as you would expect, because the US dollar should be dropping off the back of the news, which will make the indices rise. So we'll see where we go. It might be tricky because we've got news coming out at 3 o'clock. So what they might do is after this push up, they might pull it back ahead of the news. So we'll wait and see what happens. But I'm going to trade all three today. We haven't got ADR hits anywhere. So we're within ADR. So there is still room for movement today. And as we've got some news out now, we might actually get a decent run. So we will see what happens. This morning or this afternoon, but always tricky trading after a big news event and before another news event is due. So we've got 3 minutes to the open, well, a couple of minutes to the open. FX today, sorry, wrong chart again. That's the new hedging strategy that I've just literally started this morning just to test it, or rather this afternoon. So FX, I haven't banked anything yet today. It's all been flip-flopping around, obviously, with the news. So nothing banked. All positions are comfortable. Just waiting for something to happen, really. The yen's, we're still getting another rally on this yen. So with the US dollar dropping, the yen tends to do a move along with it. So I'm hoping the yen typically will do the opposite to the US. So when the US dollar suddenly starts to rally in one direction, we quite often get the inverse happening on the yen. So I'm hoping that the yen will now start to power up a little bit on the US drop, but we need that US to drop first. It's not particularly convincing at the moment, is it? It's looking like it's rejecting, but we need it to, you know, stick a couple of big moves in, so 150 ADR or something today. So there's quite a few ADRs. We'll have a look at the ADRs in a minute. RSIs are starting to get extended again as well. So we'll have a look at those in a minute, but we'll watch the open first and see where we go. We might, looks like all three are going to fall within parameters this afternoon, so should get onto all three of these. Ideally long, but we'll see. Afternoon, Paolo, Virginia. Got 20 seconds to go. It's the never-ending cup. It's one of those annoying cups which is angled in. So when you're drinking it, every time you put the cup down, there's always a bit left. Fun fact. Right. Markets are open. Long on the NASDAQ. No trade Dow, no trade S&P. So long NASDAQ. Wow, that's really close. Why is that so tight? Could have sworn I'd made that bigger. Maybe not. Might adjust that offset on the NASDAQ. That's a bit tight. Make that a bit bigger for tomorrow, for next trade. Short on the Dow. Again, that's a little bit tight on that as well. I thought I'd change these. This is a different terminal, isn't it? I haven't adjusted these. I had these adjusted on the other one. Yeah, too tight. I think that was 15. No, maybe it was 10. Remember. Right. So obviously today, with the market wanting to rally, we'll see where we go. But obviously that's a good start being longed there. Not a good start being shorted there, but we'll see. We'll go with the momentum. So upsides on these today. Obviously, if that US dollar is going to come down hard this afternoon, we should expect a good ADR move to the upside on all the indices. So plenty of room to the upside, obviously. The pre-market high is all the way up there on the Dow. We've got the pre-market high, which we're just tapping into now on the S&P. But next stop on that is 150 ADR, which is yesterday's high. And it's roughly the same 125 ADR as the NASDAQ high, that resistance from yesterday. So we're at the pre-market highs now on the NASDAQ and the S&P. So as long as we can break those pre-market highs and we get a run, we should be clear to go up to 125 ADR. So good, strong runs today on these. If the buyers step in, i.e. if the US dollar does drop, which we don't know. Obviously, the downside is we've got news coming in 30 minutes. So the market could flip-flop around for a bit, but we'll see. NASDAQ's got a good break starting, so let's hope we can get a run off that. Afternoon, Elliot. Wayne even. You said I can download the hedging set files for the breakout strategy from within which app? Everything's in Telegram. Telegram group. It's all over the website. Up there, Telegram. All the pages, there's a whack and great blue block to join the Telegram group. So everything's in Telegram. Okay, so Euro's running against the US. So US is looking a little bit weak at the moment. Market doesn't look particularly strong. It's trying. Dow broken long, so hedged on the Dow. Long on the S&P. So looking for a rally. This stinks of yesterday, doesn't it? Sitting around waiting for news. Not really going anywhere. Afternoon, Kennedy. Sorry, I'm doing two things at once. NASDAQ rallying. Almost at target on the NASDAQ. S&P out the highs. Hopefully we get that run today. After all the news this week, my US dollar CAD is still at break even, still waiting on the US strength or CAD weakness. If I was you, AZ, I'd get out of that. If you're not out of it, get out of it. We've just had negative news on the US. The US dollar CAD, obviously, you've had negative news against negative news. So that is no bias. But the US dollar will always trump. Get the pun? But the US dollar will always be the dominant currency. It's the world's currency. It will be stronger. So if you've had a negative news on the US dollar and a negative news on the cross currency, the dollar will beat it. Why that news is negative for the US dollar? So basically, interest rates, basically interest rates are forecast to come down. And unemployment, as unemployment goes up, it puts pressure on dropping interest rates. The news we've just had, although it is ever so slightly better than expected for the US dollar, it's still massively bad. Yeah, a 3.7% unemployment rate is big. Yeah, so although if these rates had have gone up on unemployment, what you would have seen is the US dollar collapse immediately. What we've got is 3.7 was the last news. We're expecting the unemployment rate to go up. It hasn't, but it hasn't come down. Yeah. So that still means they need to drop those interest rates because unemployment is not dropping. Yeah. Unemployment, if it had come down to something like 3.5, 3.6, that would have been fairly bullish, which would have meant they could have possibly squeezed another interest rate rise. I doubt they would, but it means they haven't got to put as much pressure on it. But as unemployment is not dropping, they were forecasting it to go up, but that's good, but it hasn't dropped. Yeah, it's still bad. It's like CPI. If the inflation figure is forecast to go up, but it doesn't go up, that doesn't mean it's good news because it hasn't come down. Yeah. So that's why it's negative. It's not massively negative, but it is negative. The market at the moment with the US dollar is looking for any excuse to sell it. Yeah. Because they know the interest rates are going to come down and the US dollar normally leads the rest of the world. So what you tend to find is it goes first. However, at the moment, everybody's looking to drop interest rates. So it could be the euro first, could be anybody going first. So, but we're in a period of time we just don't know what's going to happen because we've never been at this point where everybody suddenly peaked interest rates at the same time. We're all going to drop at the same time. It's just, what tends to happen is economies go through problems and they adjust their interest rates to deal with them. We've never been through a pandemic where the entire world has had to adjust their interest rates at the same time. So everything we're doing at the moment is unknown. The way that inflation and interest rates and unemployment and GDP all interact with each other is different to what it's always been in the past before the pandemic. So we are in a different situation, but historically what you would tend to see is that dropping from there, but we don't know. We will see. I just know as soon as I exit this thing, it's going to rocket. Usually, yes. But like I said to you yesterday, when you shut that, don't look at it. Do something else. Yeah. Once it's closed, it's closed. It's historical. Once you close that US dollar CAD out with 2% loss and you put it down there as 2% loss, it's gone. Next trade. Move on. Deal with the rest of this. Up to you. But look at that wick. Doing, 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 whoop, doing. Doesn't want to get through there, does it? It might this afternoon be up here. I've no idea. But all you can do is look at what you've got in front of you as evidence. Support, support, support. Slam through it. Resistance, 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 resistance. Push through on positive news. Can't get through. Doesn't look bullish, does it? That doesn't mean the next candle isn't going to be a massive bullish candle up to the top going up to 200 ADR. I have no clue, but all I can see is on the chart right now, that support has turned into resistance and it's holding. I don't know. God. So NASDAQ missed my TP by... I should have been paying attention to that. I would have closed that if I was paying attention. Not your fault. I should have been paying attention. 2 pips missed TP by, and now that's going to hedge. Not good. Never mind. Afternoon, Peter. You're late again. Right. So, not your fault. It might not. It's probably going to bounce, hopefully, and rally. It's just I would not, you know what I do. If this is within a gnat's whisker of TP, I'm usually shutting it because there's nothing worse than getting close to your TP and then it dropping away and you not getting the profit. But it's bullish, so, we're on a big bull run here at the moment, so this is probably just flagging and then we'll break up. What worries me is the news. I'm just worried about that news at 3 because the market might hang around a bit, but looks like it's running again now, which is good. Right. Even with the rates will drop, there will always be pullbacks with some kind of market structure. Yeah. So, I mean, if this is the thing, the problem you get with the first interest rate change is you tend to get a squeeze. So when that first interest rate drops, it will be a fast drop. Yeah. Now, whether it comes down 5 ADR before it pulls back or whether it comes down orderly, we don't know. But you will find the first interest rate drop will probably be forecast. We'll know about it because the banks will be talking about it. After that, the drops will be data driven. So it'll be a case of whether CPI is impacted or not. And from that first drop onwards, it becomes a bit of a guess. So what you tend to find is you get that first drop, which is quite quick. As the market confirms, yes, we are definitely going to drop interest rates, and everybody jumps on board in the other direction, you could have a massive, massive spike down. From that point on, whether or not you get a big pullback enough before the next news release or you get a squeeze is down to whatever happens with the data, isn't it? If you get an interest rate change and then 2 weeks later you get a CPI figure, which is much bigger than expected, they will drop the interest rates faster. So what happens is you get a news event which is negative, followed by a news event which is negative, followed by an interest rate change again that wasn't expected. You don't get chance for a pullback, yeah, because news is released every couple of weeks, important news. So that's the danger, which we won't know. Once everybody's got used to the fact that we're now going into a bear market, it'll start to do its normal thing. But don't forget, you've always got two currencies as well. The US say they're going to drop the interest rates. The Canadians say we are going to drop our interest rates. And then a week before they drop the interest rates, they go, actually, the CPI figure jumped up again. We're not going to do it. So all of a sudden, you'll get that where you're expecting that, because there's two currencies involved. This is why the market moves up and down, because you've got two parties involved. If you get them both having a bias in the opposite direction at the same time, like today with the unemployment, both of those went the same way. Both positive numbers. If one of those had been positive, one of those had been negative, the US dollar CAD move would have been twice as fast and hard, wouldn't it? So you've got to play both sides. Doji on the NASDAQ. Hopefully part of a 3-bar reversal. Same on the Dow. Pretty much the same on the S&P as well. So it does look like the bulls are holding at the moment, which is good. A second alert in the EA, which is continuous sound alert when price gets to within 5 or 10 pips of the take profit, so that you can pay attention. Well, yeah, you can do that. You can just do that yourself. Just set an alert. Right click, trading, alert, done. Very easy to do that. So you could just basically just do that yourself. And then you can adjust that alert up and down. There you go. I just triggered it. Do that yourself very easily. I could build it into the EA, but don't really need to. Should just pay attention. S&P at 1R again, retesting high of the day. We will have a look at the FX in a minute. I just want to see what happens to this. I just want to see if I can get a target hit before the news, which is in 15 minutes. Just conscious because I've got a loss this morning that I need to try and minimize. So S&P is just surpassing previous day's low, or testing it at the moment. It's not past it yet. This is a first. I'm sitting in standstill morning traffic listening to the stream. As long as you're not watching charts sitting in standstill traffic, that's okay. I can't remember who it was, but somebody said in a stream once, they were asking a question. And I answered the question, and I can't remember how we got around to it, but they then said, yeah, I'm just watching on my way to work. And I was like, I hope you're not driving. And he went, yeah. Like, so seriously, you are watching a live stream while driving to work? So I sat there for about 5 minutes and didn't say a word. Crazy. I can't remember who it was, but Do not watch YouTube and drive. Not particularly safe. Come on, Naz. I'm sitting under a palm tree. Oh, very nice. Wish I was sitting under a palm tree. I'm sitting in the UK with hideous rain. Like, we are flooding, proper flooding. Like, there's a place, Nottingham, up in the UK. If you're in the UK, you know where Nottingham is. But if you're not in the UK, Nottingham. And basically, they showed a picture this morning of this village. And basically, it is now an island. It used to be a village. It's not anymore. It's now an island. It's been raining that much. It's turned the country into an island within an island. It's unbelievable the amount of rain we're getting. Crazy. Good fun. Well, not good fun. It's good fun if you've got a canoe. Another way to get to work. This is really struggling. We've got a 3-bar reversal gone in here. So it is looking like the bulls are back in charge. But we are really, really, really struggling on this NASDAQ to get through here. We've got 10 minutes to the news. So I'm just conscious that we are potentially going to stall out here before the news. And what I don't want is positive US news to drive this down. So let's see if we can get this TP hit here. There we go. Not again. Taking it off there. So first one out on the NAS, break even second position. S&P's target is beyond ADR, I've just realized. So going to need a good run there to get target on S&P. We'll give it another 10 minutes, obviously, and then the news event's going to make that decision for me anyway. And then I'll have to just deal with the Dow. Okay, let's have a look at FX while we're waiting for that. So pound US dollars just hit ADR. So we've got a few ADR hits today. Aussie dollar, US dollar. Obviously, a lot of this is going to be to do with that news. So you won't have got into a lot of this. So this is an ADR hit to the downside, but there's no way you got an entry on a reversal alert. The reversal alert was basically the news spike. So a lot of these are going to be invalid today. So Aussie US couldn't have got into it. Euro US couldn't have got into it. Pound US, same thing, couldn't have got into that. New Zealand dollar CAD, yeah, same thing. So basically it spiked down, moved back up half an ADR before you got the entry. So it's just absolutely no use. New Zealand dollar, US dollar, same thing. Reversal is after that push. So none of these ADRs today are actually tradable. Again, new spike entry there. It's like more than half an ADR, the actual move. So no use whatsoever. And the US dollar yen. So all these ADRs today, they've all alerted, but you wouldn't have got into any of them because they all got alerted on the news spike. So absolutely no use whatsoever to anybody, that lot. RSIs, S&P's just, so I just spotted out the corner of my eye. S&P has just attempted a break of the highs. It didn't quite get through there. It feels like a spluttering car, doesn't it, this morning? Really, really wants to go, but something's holding it back up here. We've got sellers basically sitting on top of this saying, no, we're not coming through, which worries me because this is absorption, which means that the buyers, every order the buyers are putting into the market is getting absorbed by sellers, which means there is a big wall of sellers there that they just cannot get through. Eventually, those buyers are just going to go, screw this, give up, and they're going to flip and turn the other way. So if that news comes out as a positive US, this thing's going to probably come down fairly quick today. So 7 minutes to go. We were really, really struggling here to get any headway. We'll see. I think we're going to wait for that news catalyst. So US dollar CAD ADR, just been hit on that one as well. There you go. So that's an ADR to ADR move. Look, straight up, straight down. So for RSIs today, we've got the Aussie CAD extended on the hourly. That's not extended anymore. Aussie dollar CAD's just hit 125 ADR. So that's not extended anymore because it was part of that news spike. 4 out. That was extended. Again, that's already played out. So you couldn't have got into that either. Aussie dollar, US dollar, I think it's going to be the same story on most of these today. Yeah, the V shape there. You wouldn't have got into that one. That's extended on the, was extended on the 4 hour, was extended on the hourly. They're all played out basically because obviously the moves have all happened off of the news. So the pound odd, just about coming out of extension there on the hourly. That one's spiked both directions at the moment, sitting in the middle of nowhere, but that is just about extended on the 4 hour. So still valid for a short, that one. Got the pound yen extended on the hourly. Again, that is still extended. We know about that, already in short on this one. That's extended on the 4 hour now, sitting nicely above that 75 level. So good potential drop on this. Lovely resistance we're at here that we are struggling to get through. So we've pushed up, rejected, we've pushed up, stalled, we're pushing into it again. If this rejects again, I think that area is going to hold and we're going to pull back. So watching this area here for a target. If it's going to continue to do that, it could be that the yen powers up now as well. So that could just come straight back down and make new lows. US dollar yen as well is another 4 hour and hourly RSI. Again, nice extension above there. This is turning around beautifully. Already got shorts on this one from the RSI extension from Wednesday. So that was first entry. Second entry was taken yesterday. We've spiked up through ADR today. And hopefully now we're just going to do a pullback on that move there. So pretty much the same as we've been looking at this week, because all we've had this week really is just strength, or rather weakness in the yen and strength on everything else against it. So similar opportunities at the moment to what we've had all week. S&P is stalling out. I'm going to call it on this S&P. I'm going to take that off with virtually no profit and break even the second part because I'm worried about this news driving this market back down again. If that happens, that's fine. I've banked that. I do not want to get hedged on that if that's going to happen. So I'm just going to close that one out just to minimize my risk. If it goes, it's fine because I've got one position on it and yeah, excellent. If you want to go, go. No problem. But if you don't want to go, I do not want to be hedged on that and the Dow at the same time. So I'm just going to close that one out there. First half, obviously, the second half will be running and let that run. I've got 4 minutes to the news. And the Dow is hedged. So I'll wait and see what happens with the news, which way this one goes. So at the moment for the Dow, yeah, I mean, 5R to the downside is a double bottom bounce on the day. 5R to the upside is top of that propulsion gap, which is 125 ADR. So I have no problem with either of those targets. So I'll leave those in place and see if we get movement off of the services PMIs. 3 minutes. Not an easy day today at all. There you go. Market's coming down a little bit now. Is the NASDAQ available on Forex? Yep. It is. Everything's available on Forex apart from the FTSE, index-wise. Peter, that is the reason why I'm stuck in London, travelling from Prague yesterday. Trains to Cardiff all cancelled. Yeah, I mean, everything's cancelled. All trains are cancelled. It's nuts, the weather. Try today and problems again. Yeah, the problem with the UK is obviously when it rains. And because we're really hilly, for 3 days after the rain has finished, the rain still comes down in the form of water from the hills. So it won't stop flooding. When it stops raining, it keeps flooding in the UK. We're not very good at that. We're an island. We're very low. Coming back from the city, unfortunately, Pittsburgh has tunnels at both ends. Everyone feels the need to hit the brakes before going through. I like a good traffic jam. I've got an electric car which is self-driving, so basically I can sit in a traffic jam like that. And it just drives it for me. I don't have to get involved. It's really nice. It's the best thing about electric cars and LiDAR. You don't have to drive. So if driving is hideous and stop, start, stop, start, stop, start, I just let the car do it. It's great. My 3 DAX TPs to the upside were hit quite quickly. Would you then manually delete the sell limits that the EA created? Yeah. Why are you trading the DAX in the afternoon, though? DAX is the morning. NASDAQ afternoon. US indices in the afternoon. European indices in the morning. You won't get the movement in the afternoon off the European indices. There's the news. Looks bearish US. Yeah. 50.6 on a 52.5. That's bearish US again. So Euro US dollar should start to rally. Sorry, wrong one. US dollar yen coming down hard. US dollar will be dropping hard off the back of that. Look, there we go. So Euro US, that's going to rally nicely. On my way to a nice profit. 150 ADR. Euro US, we're coming into propulsion. US dollar yen, 125 ADR. Nice rally on the indices. So just got to watch this Dow. See how far this Dow rallies off the back of that drop. Assuming that does drop, obviously. You can never tell at the moment what's going to go on. That could just be a spike, but... Okay, so trailing the NASDAQ. So that's your 2-hour target hit on the S&P. So if you didn't take that off like I did, you've hit target. I got alerts going off all over the place. 150 ADR, pound US, 150 euro US. US CAD, 150 ADR. So watch these propulsions, watch this support. Okay, there's ADR hit on the Dow. Uh, 250, 354. I think I'm just going to let these run. Bear in mind, I've got a loss to get back this afternoon on this morning's moves. I'm just going to move that TP on the S&P down underneath 150 ADR. This is yesterday's high. We're likely to find limit orders triggering at yesterday's high. Even if there is news, we're going to hit a wall at some point. That's within yesterday's high as well. So 125 ADR and 150 ADR on the NASDAQ and the S&P. I'm just watching this Dow because I do not actually want to get out of this Dow yet, because if this is going to continue to run hard today, I don't want to get out too quick. Just moving that up. I'm just going to watch for price action, basically. See what happens after this candle. See where we go. Replacing an electric car battery is expensive. That's why I replace my car every 3 years, because I don't need to replace anything, because it's all under warranty. Beauty of leasing a car. I get a new one every 3 years and I never have to pay a bill. Ever. Best way to do it. Is your stop on S&P 500 trailing? Yep. 2R. Everything trails at 2R. Evening outro. Okay, so we're this propulsion gap on the Dow is not really a good propulsion gap. So this is part of a shaped recovery move from yesterday. So a good propulsion gap is where you have an accumulation and then the banks start a break. So that propulsion gap like that is a good propulsion gap. A propulsion gap as part of an A-shaped or a V-shaped recovery move is just part of the move. So this one here, yes, there was a lot of selling going on there, but it's just undoing the previous buy action. Yeah, so same as that one there, look, V-shape. Yeah, that got completely destroyed. So we may well find there are sellers sitting in this area, but I doubt whether that's going to act as a strong resistance. So especially against that news, which is massively negative again for the US. So be careful. Don't try and, if you are hedged on this, wait for the market to show a little bit of weakness before you think about getting out. I'm just going to stay in for the minute. It's locked in at $160. I can't lose any more than that at the moment, so I'm going to leave it where it is. New Zealand US 175 ADR, Aussie US 175 ADR. Watch these highs if we get to them. You're going to find limit orders triggering at the highs previous days. US dollar yen 150. Easy day. With the funded trader, the broker is 8 cap. Run a mile. It is horrible, and even using the HFT trade copier, delays are between 2 to 5 seconds. Yes, 8cap are the worst broker on the planet. When I was trading with 8cap, I would press the buy button and then count to 10 before my order appeared on the chart. Yeah, if you're scalping in news like this, by the time you've pressed that button, you're $700 in drawdown. Just run. If any prop firm you see has 8cap logo on it, run. Just don't use it. They're the worst broker in the world. I've no idea. They use Windows XP as their servers or something, because by the time you've said to the server, execute my order, it goes, hang on a minute. Does a little calculation, then comes back and goes, what did you say? Oh. There you go. There's your order. Sorry, mate. It's moved. It's gone. Don't get involved. They're awful. Absolutely awful. Just tried FTMO for indices today, and it didn't take a trade. ADR numbers are all over the place. People have said this about FTMO in the past. There's something to do with FTMO's servers, FTMO's data. So basically in MT4 is fed information. about pricing your account and all sorts of things as variables. Yeah. For some reason, FTMO doesn't send the right information. And I have no idea why. There's nothing you can do about it. There's a problem with it. It's FTMO. Some people have said it to me before. FTMO, when I take a 1% trade, for some reason takes 3%. It's because it's feeding your account information through as a different value to what your account actually is. It's something to do with the way they do their servers. Because none of it's real, is it? It's all fake. So I don't know the answer to that one. Don't trade with FTMO, basically. So bear with me one sec. Back into 3.5% drawdown on the US dollar CAD. Peter, I'm not going to say it. Peter? That's not Peter. That's AZ. I did say. Just tried FTMO. Oh, you just answered that one already. Quick corrections for TFT. The broker choices are 8-cap. Purple trading are just as bad, Mumo. Purple Trading were one of the original brokers you had a choice of with, wasn't FTMO, it was the other one. Can't remember. You used to get a choice of Purple Trading and someone else. But Purple Trading are an awful broker as well. Think Markets are good, as far as I know. I've never traded with them, but I've traded with Purple and I've traded with 8-cap, and I didn't stay with them for more than a minute. Awful. Their CEO mentioned sometime last year that 8-cap was a bit of a challenge. Yes. Just a bit. Afternoon, Hamza. I disagree. Been using your Price Action Toolkit on an 8-cap account, and it's working very well. Well, this is the thing, Wayne. Some people say they have no problem on 8-cap. I have never had a good experience, and I know a lot of people that haven't. And I get a feeling it might be to do with which server you're connected to, or possibly what type of accounts you're connected with. So I think there may be some, because obviously within brokers, you've got multiple execution methods. You've got ECN connections, you've got all sorts of other stuff. So I think there's something within 8-cap that maybe it's the demo servers are very, very bad. So if you're trading on a live account with them, fine. But all prop is demo. There's no real money ever used in prop, is there? So I think what it probably is possibly prop gets the bad end of the stick because of the type of account. I don't know. I just never had a good experience with them. I just couldn't get anywhere. It's just awful. But then again, I only ever traded with them with prop. I've never traded with them with real capital. Not my own money. I've only ever traded prop on it. So I don't know. Those are just what I know and what people have told me as well. So Hornors. All I would say, with everything, I would say, try it. See how you get on. If you don't like it, then go somewhere else. Euro US dollar, I'm going to shut. 175 ADR, propulsion gap filled. I think there's a good chance that we will get up to this accumulation, but I think we are also going to get a pullback on this. So I've got 0.3% on the table. I need to bank something, so I'm banking it. So that's that propulsion gap complete. So 0.36 banked. I've got profit running because I'm short US still on the US dollar yen. So if that US dollar does continue to collapse, the US dollar yen is going to pay me out anyway. And if that US dollar continues to collapse, the yen will likely strengthen a bit, which means my euro yen will come into profit as well. So either way, should be okay. NASDAQ closing out. Just because we're at 4R. And we're starting to pull back a little on the Dow, and we're starting to pull back a little on the S&P. So I might as well take the profit on that one. This one's going to stop out with a profit. The Dow, I'm just going to hold on to for a minute. That propulsion gap's held on the Dow, look. So there are sellers stepping in at that level. Starting to pull back a little here. So all these massive extensions on RSI, sorry, ADR, on this US dollar. Obviously, these are all good mean reversion opportunities, but you are standing in front of a freight train at the moment off of a fundamental news event. So just be a little careful when you're trading a spike off of news, because obviously we don't know whether it's coming back or not. May do, it may not. Give me 1 sec. Sorry. I did not find Mr. Wick middle finger to that spammer, but I found Neo. Yes. Be very careful of spammers in Telegram. They're all over the place. AZ, I'd have been just as ticked off if I got out and the thing rallied 3.5%. Yeah. But you've got to control that. That is emotion. Yeah. You've got, if that had gone up by 3.5%, you should be able to just turn that off. You've got to try and turn that off. If you worry, this is where everybody gets killed, is the emotional part of trading. This is the whole point of position trading. It removes the emotion. Yeah. Your job is to get in and out on market movement. Forget about the money. Forget about everything. Concentrate on this. Don't look at anything else. If you close a trade out, you've closed that trade out. Look at my US dollar yen trade from last week. Look, I closed it there. I've forgotten about it. I closed it there. It pulled back and then it rallied. What's it? 3 ADR? 380 pips on 123. Rallied 3 ADR. I couldn't care less. I banked a profit on it. That's my job, is to bank a profit. If you sit in something for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and don't make any money, what have you done? Lost nothing. The whole purpose of this is to control your risk, to control your capital and not lose money. If you get an opportunity to get out ahead of a news event, there is a 50-50 shot that turns into a hideous loss or a beautiful profit. But it's a 50-50 shot. That is gambling. Yeah. The FTSE today, I posted in the Telegram group. I'm going to give it 5 minutes and then I'm getting out. Yeah. If I'd have got out when I said I was going to get out on that FTSE, I'd have made a $60 loss. What I actually took was a $450 odd loss, because I was gambling on the news event working or not working for me. I've had a really good week, so I did that for that reason. If I'd have had a mediocre week, I'd have shut it. But if you haven't had a whacking great profit in your account and you've got an opportunity to get out without losing loads of money if the market tanks against you, you should always take it. But you've got to forget it. Don't kick yourself afterwards if it rallies your way. Think how lucky you were it didn't go the other way. Just, it's hard to do. Like everything in this job, unfortunately, a lot of it is to do with experience. When you've experienced the same thing happening to you multiple times, you will automatically not do it again. I used to, on my monitor, have post-it notes all around my monitor like that. Yeah. And every single one of those post-it notes was a thing that I'd done wrong. Yeah. And every time I'm looking at the screen, it's reminding me, don't over leverage. If you're using a stop loss, don't move your stop loss. Yeah. Don't break even too fast. Don't trade if it doesn't form part of the system. All the things that everybody does wrong all the time. If you've missed the trade, ignore it. Yeah. FOMO. If you see it going like that, you've missed it. Forget it. Yeah. All this stuff used to be stuck around my monitor. And after I'd put the post-it note up there and I did it again and I looked at it again, I went, I told myself not to do that. 2 or 3 times, you'll never do it again. So hopefully, and it's not a nice lesson, but when things like that happen, it's a lesson in what not to do. Just try and demo with RoboForex. Just try and prop. I'll start my own money with a small risk. It is doing well. So if I set my max losses equal to the fees, it seems better to me with own cash. Yeah. E8 are good, but rather put my money on the table. Yeah, E8 are probably the best one out there at the moment. Speaking of prop, came across a stock prop firm yesterday called Trade the Pool. Deadpool. Finally, a stock trading prop firm. Oh, stocks. Oh, okay. 12,000 stocks. Not sure about the stock photography everywhere. Minimum trades 30. 5% growth in 45 days. 700 daily loss. All right, okay. So what's your target? 5%. If you want to trade stocks, looks good. It's pretty much the same as all the other prop firms, though, isn't it? Very restrictive conditions, but yeah, if you want to trade stocks, would be good. Okay, pulling back on the S&P, almost stopped out. So we'll see if this propulsion move holds up. So this is the news. So we'll see if that is a legitimate move. If it is, we're going to probably rally back out of that and go higher. So we're watching that high on the Dow. Gap up or gap down on you, Jay? I haven't got a gap down. Depending on your broker, you might do, though. Depends how fast the it moved. Trade the pool is the fivers, is it? %5 online limited. %5 online limited. Yeah, it's the fivers, basically. I wonder why it looked familiar. It's their style look, using happy stock photography everywhere. So it's the fivers, basically. It's their new stock trading offering. How is SAH doing? Fantastic. Making loads of money. 15% up since I started this account, which was last week. That's why the Trade Manager dashboard is the best indicator I own, from Lee. When you see green, you're happy. Yeah, that's why I built it. It's very useful in the fact that you can't see this in MT4, but it's also a massive motivation for you, isn't it? Yeah. You can now go, I'll put that down there. Yeah. It reminds you that when this is in big drawdown, this is what happens. Yeah. US dollar yen, just about to go. Look, it's below the average price, but it's still not in profit. Overnight swaps on the US dollar yen kill you. They're awful. Costs so much money to hold the yen overnight. It's horrible. But we literally depend on news to move the markets, and we can never know what the news is going to be. So don't we kind of have to have a gamble anyway? No, not at all. Not when you've got an exit. If somebody chucked you into a room and set it on fire, and all three walls around you were on fire, right? And the walls were closing in, the fire was getting closer, and then somebody opened a door there that you could run through to get out without dying. Would you run? Nobody's going to say no, are they? If you had 8% loss in your account, and then all of a sudden, within 24 hours, that loss disappeared and you could get out of it without losing that 8%, would you get out without losing that 8%? Not many people on the planet would say no. And the other thing is, as you're running towards that door, I'm going to give you 5 seconds. Otherwise, I'm going to shut it, i.e. there's a news event coming. Look at it that way. Yeah. You're going to run through that door in 5 seconds before that news event? Or are you going to take a chance that you can bash that door down once the news events come out? That's what you've just done. You had an 8% loss. It turned into nothing. You could have walked away with nothing, but now you've got the 8% loss again. Yeah. You're not gambling on news. You're gambling on news if you hold a position which has... Right, so if I get into these trades that I'm in now, this isn't a gamble of any shape, form. If this had gone that way, it's not a problem because I've only got 1 or 2 positions on. If I had 6 positions on this and I was at break even before a news event, that would be closed. Because 6 positions on this might be 3.5 lots. The difference between trading a news event with 3.5 lots and 0.28 lots is massively different. A 200% move with 0.3 lots isn't going to hurt me at all. A 200% move with 3.5 lots is going to cost me a lot of money. Now, that's the difference. News helps us, news hurts us. This is why we use tiny, tiny risk. But what you've done is the equivalent of putting a whacking great lot size on just before a major news event that could go either way. Do you see what I mean? That's the difference between the position you've got on and the positions that I've got on at the moment. If I was in something that had gone down to 4 or 5% in drawdown and had come back up to there just before non-farm payroll, that's gone. Or it's not all gone, half of it's gone, or 3/4 of it's gone. I will close out 3/4 of it to reduce the risk, because the risk is massive win, massive loss, or tiny loss, tiny win. Everything wants to be tiny. Yeah. This is a long-term strategy. It's a marathon. Yeah. If you try and sprint, you'll get killed. Everybody that messages me saying, I've just blown my account with the market reverse alerts EA. How did you use it? What were you doing? I was using 0.5% risk with half an ADR. Yeah. So basically, if something moves one ADR against you, you've got 1% of drawdown. If 10 things move against you, one ADR, which they do every day stuff moves ADR, that's 10% drawdown in your account. What happens if 2 of those squeeze you? You've got 50% drawdown within 48 hours. It's too much risk. Risk has got to be tiny, 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 tiny. And you build the risk up over time as the market squeezes and rotates. Not jumping in with big lots at the point where the squeeze might occur. That's the difference, yeah? With UJ, if you can catch half an ADR or whatever, and you have made money, good job. No one has a crystal ball. No one has a crystal ball at all. Apart from John Wick. He has a crystal ball. And even he doesn't know which way the market's going because he's not real. S&P's holding in propulsion. So is the NASDAQ. Dow not quite as strong, looking a little bit heavier at the moment, but we'll see. So basically this afternoon, they're going to be up 330 at the moment. That 150 is going to be paid off by the S&P pretty much. So afternoon's a win, morning's a loss. So they're going to be about 150 odd down on the day by the looks of things today. First losing day of the week. Across all indices, that is. To be at break even on a trade you were wrong on is the easiest escape. Yeah. But it's also a very hard decision to make, David, isn't it? Because the problem with the problem is when you're like this trade here, for example. So I've been in this for 2 days, which is not long at all. And it's now come back down to break even. So I'm sitting in this going, yeah, brilliant. It looks like the start of a move. However, if you're in 6 positions or something on this, when it gets back to break even, the difference is the lot size is so big that a move down to there is worth a fortune and a move up to there is worth a lot of drawdown. Yeah. So your subconscious is saying, if only this could drop down half an ADR, that's worth X%. It's the greed emotion taking over. Whereas what should be happening here is the fear emotion should be taking over. And you should be going, thank God it's back to break even. I've got 6.4 lots on this. I'm going to close out half of this, 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 half of this. I'm going to reduce that down to 2.5. So now I don't care if it goes back there. I can deal with it. If it goes down to there, I'm going to make some money. But what you're not going to do is have a sleepless night because you've got huge lots on. When you get back to break even, it's at a chance to do drawdown control. Use some of that profit above the line to get rid of some of that loss below the line and reduce the size of the position. So if it does come back against you, your loss rate or your drawdown rate is reduced massively. That's what drawdown control is all about. Reducing your drawdown. Reducing the rate of drawdown, reducing the amount of drawdown, reducing the lot size, lose everything. Yeah. So right now, I've got this back to pretty much break even here. Yeah. Or that euro yen. Yeah. It's back into profit. This is a tiny lot size, so it doesn't really matter. But what I could do is I could close out. That's a 0.13. Yeah. So I could close out half of that and make that a 0.07. And I could close out half of that and make that a 0.05. And all that's going to happen now is I'm going to make half as much money or half as much drawdown, which is half as much pressure. All about controlling your emotions. And that's done by controlling the size of your positions. I think I'm justifying it in different ways, but ultimately it was the greed holding it. Yeah. Yeah. Pound CAD weekly range just hit. I mean, it's the end of the week, so it doesn't matter. But that, I mean, this could come back. Yeah. So this could easily come back to here. and retest this reversal that we've just had and then drop, it might come back and it might go and put in a new high. Yeah, we do not know what's going on with this US dollar at the moment. The market is in a state of confusion. So, you know, these propulsion gaps on that rally could hold and we could be looking at a new up leg. For all I know, I have no idea. But if you get back to there, yeah, close half of it off and just reduce the risk. Bring the risk down. What about buy stop, sell stop for news? Made 1600 today on news. Good for you. Well done. Next time the news slips you by 600 pips and you lose 24,000 because you got slipped, don't blame me. I don't do news trading. It's absolute suicide. Afternoon, Gordy. Thoughts on oil? Don't trade it. I don't know if you're joking or not, but I don't trade oil anymore. David, you're doing manual drawdown control? Yeah. I don't have auto drawdown control on now. I did have for a while, and it was with the EA that wasn't necessary. So if you get into multiple positions, let's say you're in 6 or 7 positions, and they all move against you by 1.5 ADR, for example, yeah, I will do drawdown control on every single one of those positions, and then they will pull back. And that was just a waste of drawdown control because none of this was in any problem. Yeah. So it's better to do manual drawdown control, I think. The automated drawdown control in the EA is great. But if you're doing it manually, like if something gets into 1.5% of drawdown now, not worried about it. If it gets into 3% of drawdown, I'll start thinking I need to do something with that. But I will make that decision based on what I've banked. If I've banked 7% and something is in 3% of drawdown, I'm not going to just shut some of it because it's in 3% drawdown. If it's in 3% drawdown and about to hit a double resistance, there's no point in doing drawdown control automatically using the EA because there's a very high probability of a bounce from there. So it's just no point in I don't think doing it automated, but I mean, you can if you want to. It's kind of a backup. It's automatic, isn't it? It's if you can't do it yourself, let the EA do it. But again, spikes like this, yeah, US dollar CAD. If you've got your automatic drawdown control set at 1 ADR, for example, and you get something move 200% of ADR, you will take 2 losses on that move. What's going to happen after that, realistically? Yeah. So why take 2 losses when you know something's going to do that? Yeah. So if you had 175 ADR as drawdown control level today, you probably did a drawdown control on it, didn't you? Or 150% of drawdown. You've done a drawdown control, so you've taken a loss there. Now it's pulling back. I just don't. It didn't work. It worked, but it's not as efficient as me. So I'm doing it manual. Why aren't the Canadians talking about reducing interest rates? So if you look at the CAD inflation, yeah, it's not coming down. Yeah. So the US inflation is coming down quicker. It is bouncing a little bit now. It was coming down faster than that. That was 0.5 last time. Everybody else's inflation is coming down really, really, really quick, apart from the euro now, and probably the pound this time round. The Canadians isn't. Yeah, and their interest rate is lower at the moment than some of the other countries out there. So there's no real reason for them to get aggressive on it. Their unemployment is also stable, although it's very high. It's always high in Canada, but because they're what the countries now are looking at doing is avoiding disinflation, i.e. going below 2%. 2% is the target. If you go below 2%, it affects your GDP. So when you get towards that 2%, you've got to be careful that you don't leave these up there too high, too long. So you want to bring them down quick. So the faster this gets towards 2%, the faster the inflation change happens, the faster you want to do that. Canadians hasn't moved. So they are going to reduce their interest rates this year, but only if that continues to put in negative numbers. If that doesn't put in negative numbers, they're going to need to control that by increasing that. All data driven. So it's a balancing act. Everybody in an ideal situation, what you would have is you would have 2% inflation static every year, always, because what that will do is it will continuously increase your gross domestic product and make your economy lovely and happy, and everybody's making money, everybody's earning money, nobody's being taxed, everybody's got money in their pockets to go holidays and go shopping and everything. Yeah. If inflation is below that, you get GDP contraction, which means everybody gets poorer and poorer and poorer and poorer. Yeah, so you've got to try and keep that at a healthy level. If it's too low, you need to drop that quickly to encourage spending, which helps with GDP, etc. So it's a balancing act. It's all about keeping inflation in check. And they at the moment have no reason to go, holy crap, it's going down quicker than we expected. The Europeans were saying that, remember? Lagarde was saying, there's interest rate cuts coming, there's interest rate cuts coming. Oh, inflation's just bounced. Hold on a minute. We'll just wait and see what the next data says. Now they're not talking about drops. They are going to drop it, but not at the moment. The pound, definitely going to drop it. This is why today we had the news, 1.25% is what's forecast. Why? Because this is coming down way too bloody quick. We're at 3.9%. If it carries on at this rate, within 6 months, we're going to be down at inflation target. If this doesn't come down fast, we'll fly past inflation target, which means we'll have to drop that down to nothing to make that bounce back up again, which means it throws the economy into chaos. So it's a very gradual thing. But that doesn't mean that next month, the Canadians won't be shouting about dropping interest rates. Yeah, the next data that comes out completely changes the situation. Every time, this is why we pay attention to all of this. Every time we get a CPI number, an unemployment number, and a GDP number, we're watching, because that is what makes the bank's decision on changing interest rates. Interest rates control currency, inflation, and deflation. All linked. But long term, not today, this thing could be back up here later. I hope for you it is. If you're long on it, obviously. How does take profit work on MetaTrader 5 manually? Partial, I don't know. Go and look at MetaTrader 5 manual. I don't use it. NQ divergence, yesterday's high in play. Still in the S&P. I don't know what you mean by divergence. I haven't got anything that could give me divergence because I haven't got any indicators on the chart. But maybe, I don't know. I'm out of the NASDAQ myself. Mumo, automatic drawdown control makes sense for prop. Yeah, because it will obviously keep your drawdown in control. But don't forget, every time you do automatic drawdown control, you're taking a loss. So you're not only... The reason you're doing automatic drawdown control is because the market is going against you. So you're taking a loss and going into drawdown. So on each individual day, it has the possibility of basically making a loss and taking you over your drawdown limit as well. Or a measure as a last resort for a black swan. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, basically, you can use automatic drawdown control. If you set it at something like 2.5 to 3 ADR, if there was a black swan event, it would automatically start shutting those positions down. Yeah. You could use it for that, definitely. David, if I had 10K starting out, would you go to the index Hedge EA or would you position trade? I can't answer that. It depends how much money you want to make and how. They're different strategies. Both. If I had 10K and I was starting out, I would try and grow a position trading account personally because it's safer, but it's a lot slower. I've done 14% so far this month. We're on the 5th. No, this is not true. I've done 5% this month, 7% this week, 14% since I started in the middle of the Christmas break with the stock index Hedge EA, yeah? So the chances of growth with this are exponentially faster. However, you can make losses as quick as well. I don't know. If you were starting out with 10K wanting to do this as a job, you can't, is the honest answer, isn't it? Yeah, you can't start a business on 10K. Not in this business anyway. You could start a gardening business or a window cleaning business or any business that has an outlay of less than 10K. But this requires more than 10K to make 1,000. You're going to make roughly 10 to 15% a month. Yeah. I had this exact conversation with somebody in here, in Telegram. And I got them to do the maths for me. So the question was, what trading capital would I need to achieve a goal of $200 per day? Yeah, so I basically said, if you can't do the maths on that, there's a problem. Because I'm really helpful like that, as you know. So 20 days a month, 200 a day is 4,000 a month. So if you want to make 4,000 a month, then your average return is going to be 10%. What does your starting capital need to be? Luckily, they could do maths and they came back with the answer of 40,000. So if you want to make 4,000 a month, yeah, that's what you need to earn. You need 40K in capital to make that happen. If you're going to return 10% a month, which is what on average a good percent of your account a month. If that was possible, people would be doing it. They're not. And if they tell you they are and they can't prove it, they're not. That's it, isn't it? Everybody that says they can double your account in 3 weeks is totally right. I could hit the long button now on this with 50% risk. And if it goes up today and hits 150% of ADR, I would have doubled my account. That's not trading, that's gambling. Yeah, it's not controlling risk, is it? M5 RSI, Brian. Yeah, so you probably got divergence in the respect that the RSI is dropping. But it is because of the news event, so be wary today. What is WS30? That's the Dow Jones Wall Street 30. I have a work from home job, so I don't need it or expect it to bring me a ton of money. Yeah, exactly. So it'll bring you about $1,000 a month. But the way to do it, David, is to not withdraw that money. Yeah, start with that 10K, produce 10% a month and compound it up. Compounding is doable with position trading, no problem at all. If you don't take the money out, you will compound fairly quickly. And within 6 to 8 months, you could easily be sitting at 20K. And then you've got a 20K account to trade with, which could return you 2K a month. And then for the next 6 to 8 months, compound that up to 30K. And then you've got a 30K, which is going to return you 3K a month. And if you can live on 3K a month, it's going to take you a year to build your bank. This is what I said to this guy as well yesterday. I can't remember what I said. It was another guy. I get asked this question all the time. The answer is always the same. If you want to do this full time, you need to treat it like a business. If you're going to set up your own business, you can't do it with a small amount of capital. You need a large amount of capital. Yeah. So if you haven't got 50 grand to trade and you need to earn 5 grand a month to live, you can't do this job. It is as simple as that. If you want to become an airline pilot, It costs 125 grand. If you haven't got 125 grand, you can't become an airline pilot. Simple as that. Yeah, I don't know how else to put it. You've got to have money to trade with. Money makes money. If you haven't got money, you can't make money. There's no way around it, unfortunately. It's just one of those things. You've got to be able to trade with capital. And this is where prop steps in and goes, hey, I'll give you capital, but I'm going to give you some conditions which very few people can actually trade with him. But a lot of people can be lucky with it. One of the, who was it said they paid for their, I think it was Savannah, wasn't it? Somebody in Telegram said they paid for their position trading account using prop funds. So they'd made money with prop and they'd used that to start their position trading account. You can do that in prop. You can be lucky and you can make a lot of money very quickly, but it's not sustainable. You will lose it just as fast. But if you can make it quickly, then stop doing that and do something else, job done. What's my personal risk on SIH? So I'm risking around about 0.75 to 1% per session. So these are trading 0.5% each, and in the morning I'm trading. Sorry, that's 2.5. So these are trading 0.5% each. So there's 0.5% risk there, and there. And in the mornings, I'm trading 0.5%. Sorry, no, I'm trading 1% per instrument. So I trade 1% on the DAX and 1% on the FTSE. So 2%. So 2% in the morning, 1.5% in the afternoon. Is there much difference between futures and Forex? Yeah. Not that I can go into in a session. Lots of differences, yeah. If I start with 10K and let's say my risk is the same as yours, 0.01, I probably wouldn't be able to do much drawdown control due to the fact that the lot size may be too low. No, because if you look at this as a 50K account, you'd be taking 1/5 of that lot size, wouldn't you? So you'd still be trading, as long as you're trading with higher than 0.03 lots per entry, you can do drawdown control very easily. You can only do it in thirds though. Yeah. So it's all, what you've got to think about is I would always recommend the minimum lot size you trade with is 0.03, because you want to be able to do drawdown control, and to be able to do drawdown control, you need to close a percentage of it. With a 0.03, you can only close 33% of that trade. If you start with a 0.04, you can close 25% of the trade. A 0.05 is 20%. Yeah. So the higher the lot size, the smaller the more accurate the drawdown control can be done. But obviously the more the better. If you went in with 0.2% risk, you'll be able to do drawdown control easier, yes, but then you're going to be taking more risk. But there's somebody in Telegram that's just posted their results, haven't they? And they've made 20-something% return in 3 months or so, I think it was. I can't remember exactly what it was. Using 0.2% risk on every instrument. So that's double the risk that I'm taking, but with 20% of the size of the account. There's nothing wrong with that. Risk is risk. It's up to you what your risk tolerance is. When you see me go into 15% drawdown every now and again on here, just think you would be in 30% of drawdown. Can you handle 30% of drawdown on a smaller amount of money? Yeah, the numbers, when the numbers get bigger, the account size gets bigger, the drawdown numbers get bigger. So where I would go into something in the region of 7 grand of drawdown, you'd be sitting in 15 grand of drawdown maybe. You know, it's just, well, no, you wouldn't, would you? Because your account's smaller. But you know what I mean? You'd be double the amount of drawdown, wouldn't you? So as long as you can handle that. But the trouble is you're not going to know if you can handle it until you get there. But there's nothing you can do about that. you either need to jump in or don't jump in. S&P is just testing higher day again, almost up at TP on that, which I've put just under ADR and under yesterday's high. So we're coming up to test yesterday's high. I might just lock in a bit more profit on this. I'm going to put it under that wick. We're stalling out basically. So for the last half an hour, we literally haven't gone anywhere. So market's kind of gone into Friday afternoon mode. So I'm just looking in a bit more profit because I have no idea where this is going. And if it's going down, I'd rather have more of it than less of it. As a hobby trader with a 6K pot and only 1 to 30 leverage, is 10% a month still doable with position trading? Not with 1 to 30 leverage, it's not, no. You need more than 1 to 30 leverage if you're going to position trade. You won't be able to get the sizes on. You won't be able to get the lots on. You'll run out of leverage and they will shut you down on a margin call and then you'll lose all your money. So no. For the stock index hedge strategy, no problem, but not for position trading. You need an overseas broker. You've got to be able to have the leverage. Right, that's all I got for you today, really. So S&P still running. That's paid for that. So that hedge has been paid for by the S&P. That's pure profit. The NASDAQ, unfortunately, I made the loss this morning on the FTSE, so I'm going to end up literally $120 odd or something down, which is neither here or there. I've made 3K on the account so far, so it's not an issue. But yeah, tough day today. So if you have 0.25 on SIH risk and you are saying 0.5%, does that mean that you are hedging so the multiple of 2.5? No, because the SIH strategy takes 2 trades, doesn't it? Takes 2 trades in each direction. So if I'm risking 0.25 per trade, it's taking 2 trades as 0.5% risk. You have one TP2, one TP5. So you have a momentum profit, and then you have your runner. Yeah, so 2 entries. There's my first, there's my second. That's 0.25%, that's 0.25% based on. Right. So I'll be back on Monday. No idea what's going to happen with this. Obviously, we've had the move put in off the news. Whether or not that sticks or not, we'll have to wait and see next week. It's not good news for the US. The services PMI obviously hasn't been good. The manufacturing PMI was as expected. So overall, it's kind of very, very mixed, but kind of long-term sort of pushing the US over the edge a little bit. So I'd say it's more negative than positive what we've seen today. But this market has really no idea at the moment when these rate drops are going to happen. So we could well just sit like this for weeks. You know, there's no reason why we couldn't just put that leg in up to there, or we could completely drop down to there. It's all down to the banks and whether they want to start moves. So at the moment, I don't think there's any real indication of bullishness or bearishness long term. Bearishness long term, definitely. But in the short term, in the next sort of 4 to 6 weeks, could go absolutely anywhere, everything. So at the moment, I'm still happy to take trades in either direction and just assume that we're going to have normal market structure play out. So we'll wait and see what happens with these next week. We've certainly stalled out on the downside move now, but we'll wait and see. So banks a little bit there, considering this was the first week of the month and I only traded 4 days, 1.8% on the position accounts. All right. SIH has obviously done very well this week. Very, very good week. So yeah, all good. So I'll be back on Monday. We'll obviously have a look at what's going on. News-wise next week, we've got a bank holiday again on Monday for Japan. They have bank holidays all the time. But it's a very, very light news week next week, as in quantity, but the quality of the news, huge. It's inflation week. So we've got the Swiss inflation on Monday, rest on Tuesday, Aussie inflation on Wednesday. We've got the US inflation on Thursday, and then we've got the GDP and the PPI figures coming out on Friday. So this is probably, I would say, the most important news event of the month, because if this figure comes out as a big, higher than expected number, we're going to get a big, strong move in that US. So this is a really, really critical move news next Thursday, because it's potentially what could kickstart that movement to the downside on the US. So that's our focal point next week on Thursday. But we will see. But other than that, there's no other news next week. So it's one of those weeks where we're going to get move, stop, move, stop, move, all driven by spiky news at the moment. Right, so that's it for this week. All done. Let me just quickly answer those questions. So if you're hedged, it means 1% total, 0.5% total, Peter. I'm risking 0.5%. So the risk is 0.25% per trade based on the distance of the hedge. So that is 0.25% risk. So I enter, and if there was a stop loss, that would be 0.25% risk. There's two of them. So the hedge is locked in at 0.5%. Roughly. It's never exactly right, because obviously it depends on your offset as well. There's other things that go into it, but it's roughly half. How much do you want to risk? Roughly 0.5%. You're never going to get it, because you're going to get slipped. You're going to get all sorts of stuff happening. So roughly 0.5%. So 0.5%, 0.5%, 0.5%. So the worst case scenario is I can lose 1.5% of my account if all three instruments hedge and I don't get out of any of them in the afternoon. That is my maximum loss on the account I can possibly take in an afternoon session. In the morning session, it's 2%, because it's 0.5% per instrument. Twice, 1% in total. Yeah. Hopefully that makes sense. I'm confused myself. Got a strategy for you to test? Yeah, send it over if you want. I'll have a look at it if I get time. Definitely. Always interested in new strategies, depending how complex it is, whether I understand it. Experimenting with a new approach this year on futures with Apex accounts. 300 profit per day, 10-day consecutive trading according to their rules. Withdrawal, repeat. Good luck. If you could make 300 profit per day on a regular basis, you're printing money. I don't know anyone that can do that. Market doesn't give you 300 a day. Sometimes it gives you 600 loss. Would be nice. Everything's doable on paper, Brian. Yeah. All these systems and strategies that go, this is the 50 pip a day strategy. When it works, when it doesn't work, it's not the 50 pip a day strategy. It's the 25 pip loss, or the 70 pip loss, or the 90 pip loss. And sometimes you get 10 of those in a row. That's why prop firms make money. Not that simple. I wish it was. S&P is just about to hit target. We're 1.5 hours into the session. That's what this line is here. So we're 1.5 hours in. This is the magic 1.5 hour point. The high or the low of the day is in. One of those two will remain intact. Which one? We will find out. But we're 1.5 hours into the session, so it'll get to the point where I want to slow down a bit and just go and do something else. All right, so back on Monday. If you need anything, I'll be in Telegram over the weekend, but we'll be back Monday morning, 7:50 for Frankfurt, 2:20 for the New York session. And yeah, hopefully next week goes as well as this week and we can make a bit more money. All right, so have a good one. If you need anything, let me know. Otherwise, have a good weekend, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye.